Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Indy Investor Pod. Randy and I wanted to jump on and do a quick little episode here on from basically the way we get our data, the way we get our list of people that we're going to target for mail or cold calling or texting or any other lead sources that we're doing or anything like that. We use a data scientist company. And they sent us an email a couple weeks ago, and it was basically just about what the hottest zip codes in Indianapolis right now, what the hottest zip codes are, how many buys are going on there, average sale price, and the average discount on those things too. So we just thought it was worth jumping on and doing a little episode on these 5 zip codes and kind of going through those. The zip codes themselves are the zip code with the most buys at a discount over the last, I believe this was for the year so far, for this year so far. And 46201 was the highest one at 137 discounted properties. This was halfway through the year. So from the beginning of the year to the end of June is what they're looking at here. So the hottest zip code was 46201 with 137 discounted properties sold. The next hottest zip code was 46218 with 112. Next one was 46222 with 110, and then 46203 with 101. And then the last one was 46226 with 90 discounted properties sold there for the first part of the year of 2021. So what Randy and I was wanting to kind of do is you kind of touch on that a little bit of what we're seeing, what that means for the city, kind of what we see going on there, all different things like that. So let's just start with the first one, Randy. So let's start with 46201. So with this area, this is the area that we're talking about with, Inglewood, Grace Tuxedo Park, Tuxedo Park, kind of New York Street runs right through there.
Mhm.
Arsenal Heights kind of runs into up towards, Windsor Park and the south of Brookside Park. You got Little Flower, Emerson Heights, part of Christian Park in there and stuff like that. So that's what we're talking. We're talking about 46201, just for everybody. Just so they're in the know right there. What we're looking at so far for that first part of the year, there were 137 properties sold at a discount through there. That average discount was basically they were sold at about 80%, 81% actually of kind of what they were valued at. So that's kind of where, if you're looking to invest in Christian Park, knowing that you're probably gonna have to pay somewhere around 80% is what things are looking at right there and things like that. The average buy price in those areas for the zip code of 46201 was about $65,000, in between $65,000 and $66,000, so right around in there. So Randy, when you hear right now, when you're still working with our buyers and working with Alicia on the sales side and things like that. So when you hear the zip code of 46201, what really jumps out to you? What are some of the kind of the top areas that you like that you see people having success in and stuff like that?
Yeah, so whenever I see that zip code, first thing that pops in my head is like, what am I getting? So the reason is because there's small pocket neighborhoods and there's larger ones with big development going on. So it's one of those zip codes where you can't just look at the zip code and say, okay, I kind of know what price range I'm going to be in. It's really hey, how bad is this property? How bad of condition is this property
Yeah.
in? Because at least from our experience, most of our leads that come into zip code, we get a lot of stuff around like the Inglewood area, not too much like in the Windsor Park, but a lot of that central part of 46201, Tuxedo Park, Inglewood, that tier neighborhood, those can be great opportunity for somebody. Lots of flips going on in that area, but also all these homes are like 1901 to like 1920 build. Basements, large 2-story homes. That could be a very, very extensive rehab for a lot of people. So that's one thing I always, it's a coin flip for me. It's kind of how I look at the zip code. But I think that's the reason why it's on this list of most affordable places to buy property at a discount because of how many properties are still in the zip code that need work.
Yeah.
A lot of pockets that are kind of on my radar is what I'm fans of is kind of the east part of 46201. So going from north to south, Little Flower, Emerson Heights, and then Christian Park.
Yeah. Love those areas.
All three of those pockets are always in my if I'm talking to a new buyer and they're say, hey, like what's a good neighborhood to get started in? On the east side, I always name those three. There's like, and because those homes are more manageable, Emerson Heights is a great little pocket for anyone looking to do a flip, a burr, long-term buy and hold, kind of you name it there. But Christian Park and Little Flower, they've got more manageable homes as far as something that's not going to need 100K plus most likely in rehab like you would in the central part of 46201 or towards Windsor Park and places like that.
Yeah. Look at those areas you mentioned. They're little smaller homes too. So you can find a lot of
Yeah.
2-1s or even, some 3-1s, some 3-1.5s,
Yeah.
but like, they're not going to be, like you said, the huge rehab and things like that. Where I think, if you list the number of properties here of 137 that they targeted on this list anyway, I think, probably about 20% of them might've been done like just south of Brookside Park in that area, right? Right around in
Exactly.
there and stuff like that. But those are big
Yeah.
rehabs and things. It's kind of crazy, even just driving through that neighborhood of like, you kind of see like all the amazing stuff that's going, but then you still see that house. It's like, oh man, what, like I want to walk around in this area. There's still some of that going on and things too. So, but a
Mhm.
lot of really good stuff happening over that area and a lot of investors having a lot of success and things. So, I kind of mentioned before of New York Street, kind of running through there and things. It's always like, okay, what part of New York is it on? Let's target it. Let's figure out where it is. Cause we've done
Yeah.
some really good deals there. And we've done some deals that were like, oh man, what did we do? What were we thinking? We didn't like quite look at this one the right way and stuff too. So,
Yeah,
um,
I think the three streets that I'm always like, okay, like let me see this property if it's on Michigan Street, New York Street, or Washington Street.
yep, exactly.
Those three streets, those are there's some good properties on them, and
Yeah.
there's some very rough areas.
Yep.
So if you're on those streets, if you see East Michigan, East New York, or East Washington, I'm always like, all right, like let me really see this property, see what's going on. Let me see the houses next to them because some of
Yep.
them could be burnt down.
Yep. So, I look at like kind of take what Randy was saying. I think that was really good advice and kind of my advice I have for investors out there. If you're not familiar with this area or looking to get into this area is if I am new to this area or new to starting off and I'm trying to start off, I'm going to look at those areas that Randy mentioned. I'm looking at Little Flower, Emerson, um, and then down into Christian Park, those areas right there, kind of sticking to that east side of 46201. If I'm going more towards the west side of 46201, you can be successful there, but you're probably going to want to make sure that you have crews in place and that you have crews that you've been successful with before, on your construction, on your rehab and things like that. So if you don't have those, established crews you've been working with, I'm going to focus more on the east side of that zip code. If I have crews that I'm established, I feel comfortable with, I'm going to work more towards the west side because I'm probably take a little bit more on with the construction in that zip code and things. So, Randy, anything else to add or any tips you have for investors when they're looking into this area?
Yeah, like I said, don't get too excited on just the zip code because you'll see a lot of good home values in 46201.
Yeah.
But again, it's going to be like a coin flip, depending on the age of the home and kind of what pocket of 46201 you're in. So don't jump the gun too soon on the zip code, but definitely a lot of opportunity for sure.
Yeah, I think that's just that's a blanket statement that maybe we should have started this podcast with, and
That's a blanket
we've said
statement
this
for all
for
of them.
yeah, we say this on every single one, and it's when you talk to anybody investing in Indy, that they hopefully you kind of know that, or you've at least realized that before. If you haven't been here, you maybe heard people say it of like, don't look at a zip code just for a zip code. There's all these zip codes that we're going to talk about today. They're large areas. There's a lot of homes in all these areas and stuff like that too. So little pocket neighborhoods, or even some bigger neighborhoods that break these up, and that's really what we got to look at. We're also not even just the neighborhood with that's within the zip code, but also the street that's within that neighborhood that's within
Yeah.
that zip code. So
Yep.
definitely we'll just throw it out there as a blanket statement for all these as we go forward and stuff too. But great advice, Randy, on 46201. Next one on the list at 112 discounted properties, what they're coming in at is don't hate on the 218. So we got 46218. A lot of deals that are being done there. The average buy price for areas or properties in this area is $46,000. All right. So you're about $10,000 less than we were just talking about with 46201. So when coming to 462-218, you're going to have a lower value property that you're going to be able to pick things up for, but about the same discounted price. It's coming in about 79% is what about the average discount is for, rehab properties and what they're coming in at there and things. So, and we've done podcasts on this zip code before and things, and there are people that, this zip code isn't for everybody. There's people that are staying with it. There's people that would have stayed away from it last year that are now getting into it because there are some pockets that are changing, and there's things that are going on there that are pretty good. Especially those pockets that you look at, like the Community Heights area that still falls into 46218. It drops below, 70 over there. But man, there's some really nice neighborhoods. Fit all right in with what we were just kind of talking about with 46201. of everything, just north of Little Flower and south of 70, kind of fitting in right there. Like I love that area. Like I enjoy driving around it. I love checking out those properties. And a lot of people are having success there and things. A lot of families living there and some really good things.
Yeah.
Perfect rental properties and stuff. Moving up into 46218 on the other side of 70, there's still some really good things. There's some rougher areas, some areas that you need to make sure you're okay with. If I'm managing property, or if I have a property manager, I'm going to make sure they're used to managing properties in that zip code. Not some of the other zip codes. Like somebody that's used to managing Beech Grove might not be the property manager I want managing this area here and stuff. So
Yeah.
Randy, when you hear 46218, you listen to investors that are having success there, or even ones that are having a little bit of trouble with. What are some of the things that stand out to you when it comes to this zip code?
Affordability, cash flow, just because you can get properties and still in really decent condition where you don't need to put too much work into it, and you can get it rented out fairly quickly. But you're only all in. Dude, you could be all in for under 50,000 on a fully rehab property and collect $800 rents.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely some pockets that I think you can find some of the best cash flow in the city, from that standpoint. And then, yeah, I think a lot of the times it's still confusing to think of like 46218 for some people south of 70, like around, like you're just north of Windsor Park there, and then north of Little Flower, because those are kind of known as like the better areas of 46218.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of stuff happening finally north of 70 and 46218, and
yeah.
it's great. So like just immediately, or like right around Washington Park, I've seen great deals over there. And then like around, the Sherman and Emerson area, around like 34th Street, there's like some pocket neighborhoods where, people are actually flipping homes.
Yeah.
And it's still at a very like affordable price point. Like we're talking between $80,000 to $100,000 flips. And they're, they sell in a day. So,
right.
But there's also a lot of confusing. I think one of the most confusing parts of 46218 for me is like the lower, like southwest corner.
As it gets closer to Kennedy King and stuff, which you have all the amazing stuff that's going on in Kennedy King, and then there's like, but you can go, 2 streets over. That's not Kennedy King still, and there's still some really good stuff there. But yeah. So, kind of that known as like maybe the hillside area, kind of up button up against like the friends and neighbors, and friends and neighbors has always been an area of just like, it's kind of like, still up in the air of like what you're getting there. But where it comes into 46218, kind of, over around that, the Oak Hill or the Douglas Park Golf Course, you have that over there, around that area and stuff like that. There is some really good stuff over there. And I it's a great area, but it's that you got to look, this is where you have to look street by street, what we were just talking about. This isn't, this is a nice pocket. It is a nice pocket, but it is still street by street over there and stuff. So
yeah, I think like a dead zone for 46218, that's just because there's not a lot of properties there, and it's more kind of rundown commercial stuff. Is north of 70 and south of Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a thin strip there where there's only a few streets of houses, where I just think it's just very stagnant, and it's just kind of like, it's the dead zone.
Yeah. You don't know if it's a business or a house or a church or it's a little awkward there. So I definitely, as you're driving through this area and stuff too, I think you can definitely notice a difference of kind of, if you're coming north of 70, on, whether maybe you just take on Sherman, if you're driving north on Sherman and stuff like that, you can definitely see a difference of like once you hit 25th Street, and once you hit 30th Street, and then once you hit 34th Street, and then once you go up on the 38th, you kind of see the difference in the, in the houses and things there. The property values are going to rise a little bit of what you're going to be able to pull out to if you are burring, kind of the closer you get to, 38th Street and you butt up to that and things. But general rule too, the closer you are to any of the parks in these areas, you're going to be doing pretty well.
Pretty solid.
There's some really, really nice places around Washington Park and things there too for, it's nice picking up a nice rental property and things. So yeah, some solid stuff there. Randy, anything else that you want to point out or talk about when it comes to 46218, or how people can have success in that zip code?
No, man, I think they should listen to that episode we did about 46218.
Yeah. So I don't know exactly off the top of my head what the title or what the number was, but with Tashina and Dan. Solid episode there.
Yeah. My advice would be just to keep an open mind there, because I do know a lot of people, having success there. So
yeah. So next is one of our favorite zip codes. This has been one of our favorite zip codes for a while. Just under At 110 properties sold instead of 112, like 46218, but this is 46222. A little moving over to the west side. This is, we're talking about 46222. So this is, around the Speedway area. So you got Eagledale falling into here. You got around the Speedway area. You got moving down into Hawthorne, Hawville. You got Venerable Flackville up towards Marion University. So a lot of really good stuff around here, and you have a lot. This is kind of the almost the definition of just like, hey, this is a big area that this covers, that this group covers, and you're gonna have a bunch of different things that are kind of happening in here. But when you have a zip code that includes the Speedway and the things around the Speedway, like that's
Oh
going to be
yeah,
some pretty cool stuff. So
absolutely.
that's its own little city over there, basically of Speedway. But when it falls into here, there's just all around there some really good things that you can do and things. As far as the stats on this one, so over the first 6 months of the year, there was 110 properties sold at what they consider a discount that they're targeting here. The average property values were $54,000. That sounds crazy to me when you are thinking about like what properties are selling for in Eagledale and what properties are selling for around Speedway, but all
Hmm.
those other little areas in there too. Like when you're talking about like what's going on in Hawthorne, Hawville, and things like that, that's where I think you have a huge difference of $120,000 in property in Eagledale or Speedway down to that you can still pick up that $30,000 to $40,000 property in Hawville and things. So kind of
Yeah,
a big difference between there. The average discount, their properties are selling right around 80% of the ARV is what properties are coming in right there. That's going to be kind of the theme for the kind of the list here, where kind of all these are picking up. That's kind of letting us know too where properties are buying and selling. Once they're rehabbed, once they're done, once things are done to them and things throughout the city, it's falling right around 80% right now. Where a year and a half ago we were probably saying 70%. That's probably what we were looking at. And then you creeped up to 75, and now we are about 80. So,
yeah.
but when we're talking about 46222, there's a lot of things. There's so many different strategies that you can do here, where you can
Hmm.
you can Airbnb stuff. You can pick stuff up for a buy and hold rental. You can pick stuff up to BRRRR. You can buy and sell on a note and mortgage or a land contract or lease option or whatever you want to do. I recommend the note and mortgage. I'm a little biased on some of those from past experience and things, but there's a lot of really neat things that are coming down in here. So where you're going all the way from being close to the zoo and the new amphitheater they put in the White River State Park, which is awesome. I was just down there for a concert a couple weeks ago. I had a really good time. So you're him from those areas all the way up. You got the Speedway, and then you're going up into Marion University and just the cool stuff they're doing around there as well. You got Randy's favorite golf course in there as well over by the Speedway. So Randy, when you hear 46222 and you think of all the success that investors are having, what are some of the things that really stand out to you with the zip code?
Well, first I got to shout out because Alicia loves when we sell properties on the west side.
Yeah,
She's so excited when we sell something in 46222 because she's always been a believer in the west side. So
yeah, yeah,
so I just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, like you mentioned, pretty much all the hot spots, but a bulk of the stuff that we do, or most wholesalers you'll see, will be around that Hawville, Hawthorne area, Fairfax area. That's kind of where like the bulk of a lot of wholesale deals are coming from. You go north into the Flackville area. You mentioned around Marion
yep,
University. Great, solid brick ranch homes. Like I would love to get me like 10 of those things.
yeah,
And those could be great buy and holds as well. And then Speedway speaks for itself. If anyone's ever been around in that area, home values are crazy expensive. Just obviously the closer you are to the track, the more expensive. But even like a mile away, if you're in Speedway, if you're addressed as Speedway, Indiana, then it's a premium on
yeah,
price. And then down south in this zip code, you mentioned doing people having like a note and mortgage strategy. That Fairfax area, we've had a lot of success there doing that. That's something I always mention to buyers, when they're looking to invest here. I'm like, hey, you could pick up a property and just sell or finance it to somebody, and you're going to get the great or better returns that way than if you were to just buy it as a rental. And then over the past year and a half, a lot of people have been they've been hearing what's been going on around Stringtown area and Hawthorne, with a lot of people doing some big renovations, a couple new builds. There's a brand new like new build neighborhood in the zip code down in that area as well. So really, the closer you get to the zoos, where you'll get the advantages of all that. If you're more like the flipping strategy, but yeah, just lots of stuff going on. But overall, it's just always been known as a very affordable place to find a deal.
Yeah. So, and we're talking about, and just to clarify a little bit here, is we're talking about the Speedway and Eagledale and things like that. We're talking about like kind of the east side,
Yeah.
all those things, so kind of the real Speedway and half of Eagledale is kind of instead of 46224. So we're talking about 46222 right along there. Randy, you mentioned too, just kind of all the kind of some of the new builds and things that are going on. Driving down through Lafayette Road and then the White River Parkway and stuff. Some of the new construction that's going on for multifamily is pretty impressive around there as well. So
Yeah.
a lot of things that you're like, wait, how did they fit that big building on there? Because I didn't think that lot was that big. Like, so there's a lot of things. There's a lot of development that they're wanting to bring into that area as well. And of course, if you're here investing in that area as well, you got to stop by Long's and enjoy a donut. So always a little. If you got a property in this area, you got a reason to go check out Long's and grab a donut as you're investing over there as well.
For
So
sure.
always a good thing. So. As you know, Randy and I always like to, when we put a food spot in here, we're going to do that. So,
Right.
The next zip code, no surprise here. The one that, a lot of people are going to hear about especially if they're an out-of-state investor, the one they're probably going to hear about the most or first is the 46203. So a lot of things going on in there. This came in at 101 investment or discounted properties were sold here for the first part of the year. Right around $85,000 was that average sale price. And this zip code, right around 82% is where they're selling right now and things. So when we're talking about, I think a lot of people don't quite realize how big kind of that 46203 zip code is. They think of that just Fountain Square. But when you're talking, that whole area, you're talking about, Fountain Square, and then you're going south of there. So you're talking about, all the, Bean Creek down and through there. And then you're going east of there, which covers kind of a big area. When you're talking about Raymond Street, that goes all the way towards there. And actually it goes all the way out towards 465. So whole area. So just because you see, zip code of 46203, that doesn't mean it's necessarily Fountain Square, even though people will put that, near Fountain Square on there and stuff like that. That's a new T-shirt that's rolling around the city too. I love that one. So close to Fountain Square, near Fountain Square. Love that. So, but big area around here. So kind of, north of Beech Grove, but south of Irvington is what we're kind of talking about. We're going to kind of on that east side and things. So Randy, for you, when you hear of 46203, maybe we even need to do this in like two different parts. When you're thinking about like Fountain Square and Bean Creek and all that has to offer, what are you thinking there, and how can investors be successful on that side?
Yeah. Well, so when I hear like Fountain Square, just me personally, I just, I don't want it to sound bad. I kind of roll my eyes,
Yeah.
just because, it's been a hot topic for a long time. But it's pricey to get in there, even for, a house that should be torn down. You could still be spending like $80,000 to get the property, just the property.
Yeah.
And it'd be a complete rehab inside and out. So I think I when I say roll my eyes, I don't mean it like, hey, you don't buy here, but I think there's a lot of other opportunity within the zip code. So like you mentioned, it's not just Fountain Square. That's 46203. Bean Creek has been a hot topic for the past year.
Real quick before you were on to Bean Creek, just touch on that Fountain Square. This is where I'm kind of talking about, like, I'm not going to do Fountain Square unless I'm an experienced investor, unless I know, or I'm just straight Airbnb. That's the other scenario where I'm like, okay, I want an Airbnb and I'm okay here. But if I'm an experienced investor and I have my crews in place, I know what I want to do. That's where I'm going to want to get into Fountain Square a little bit. So sorry, go ahead. What's going on with Bean Creek, man?
Yeah, it's been a hot topic over the past year and a half. It's just a lot of values going up because of just personally, we've seen a lot of out-of-state investors really flock to this area because it's kind of like those neighborhoods we talked about, like around Christian Park and Little Flower, where you get these little homes. When I say little, in between 800 to 1,200 square feet, 3-bedroom, 1 story. So very easy homes to do a quick rehab and get rented out. And then since values have gone up because everything from Fountain Square has just flowed down there, um, you can pull out all your money and have a great buy and hold or a quick flip. So
Yeah, definitely.
that's been going over there. And then actually the 46203 kind of spills over to Garfield Park, which has been a hot number for the last couple of years.
Yeah, love me
Great
some
area
Garfield
there.
Park. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Where I think people need to start looking for a little bit more deals, which a lot of activity as far as like the appreciation hasn't really crept over yet, but I think it's a good opportunity for people to get in now, just to hold on is, that Twin Air pocket in like that southeastern area. So again, you're similar type homes to really kind of like what Bean Creek offers, just east of Fountain Square.
Yeah. East of Fountain Square on the other side of the tracks from Fountain Square. Yeah. Yep.
I sound like the T-shirt, but yeah, I think values there will start to creep up. That's just what I think. But also there could be solid rentals all day long.
Yeah, definitely. So as you're moving on out further, Randy's mentioned that southeastern area and stuff like that, and going out Southeastern Avenue is just kind of going out through diagonally through the city, out to 465, and you have Raymond Park that kind of runs from west to east out through there and things like that. So those areas I'm looking at is just they're good buy and hold areas. That's what I'm going to look at there. That's what I'm going to have there. A little caveat here, I will say that just a heads up on that township. That's, I know from our standpoint, that's the only judge that we've had issues with evictions from that area and stuff like that. So if you are doing some buy and holds and things like that, I just want to throw that in there so you are aware. We haven't really had any trouble throughout the rest of the city. I feel like a lot of people throughout the city are doing pretty well with their evictions when needed. Trying to, if that's the one that is their last resort and there's something you have to go towards. This is the only area that I hear that for us and for other people are having a little bit of trouble. So just a heads up there, you're in there. But that's what I'm looking at for these areas. There's some industry and things out through here, but there's some good little pockets where you can have some rental properties as well. Is what I'm looking out through here. So, and of course, it's pretty cool when you're talking about you mentioned. When you're talking about 462 or 32, we got the Fountain Square, but then also, the parts of Bates Hendricks that fall into there. You mentioned Garfield Park and and also like up into Fletcher Place and all those things that are, really cool. That's kind of happening that fall into that place as well. Kind of fall in that same, I'll put in that same stuff that we're saying about Fountain Square though. I'm probably not going to do things there unless I have crews, I'm experienced, or I'm looking for straight Airbnbs. And then that's what I'm going to do right there. If I'm doing a full flip, I'm probably going to make sure I have my crews in place and I know what I'm doing if I'm going to invest there. So just a heads up. So Randy, anything else about that zip code, man?
No, I think we covered everything for that. But yeah, you'll always see people kind of advertising the Fountain Square as larger of an area than it really is. But I think by now people are kind of catching on.
Yeah. So a little bit. So, all right. Our last zip code that we're going to talk about today is 46226. So with this one, there were 90 discount properties sold according to this criteria. 90 discount properties sold at an average of $71,000 and right about 82%. That sounds a little bit higher than some of the other areas and stuff where we were talking about like that 79, 80, 82. It makes sense because these are a little bit newer houses. When you're talking about Lawrence and Devington and things like that, generally we're not going to be talking about the same type of property and they're a different type of property than we were talking about when we were talking about 46201. A lot of properties in this, you're going to see a lot more ranches, a lot newer ranches, stuff like that, especially when you are getting on out into Lawrence and everything over there. So, but I love this area. I love me some Devington. I love me some Lawrence. A lot of rental properties. This is where you can pick up and get some high value rental properties. I consider these some pretty solid B neighborhoods, if not B plus in some areas and things like that. So, Randy, when you see investors having success, man, what's going on here in this 46226?
Yeah, I think investors have been having success here for years, man.
Yeah.
So like Devington, I've just.
Don't you think that's usually that when people hear about Indianapolis investing, it was always like Fountain Square, Bates Hendricks, then Lawrence was maybe number 3.
Yeah. And Devington in particular, like that little pocket there, like from 42nd up to 56, like for years, this was like the place for like a lot of the, I guess, older investors now, but like they flip homes here all day long.
Yep.
And you could absolutely still do that. One of my favorite, I kind of get excited when we get a lead, in this area, if it says North Arlington Avenue, just because I don't know, there's that street, it just resonates with me. Like we've done a lot of properties there, and I just know that it's going to be in an area where there's multiple exit strategies. It could
Yeah.
be a flip, or it could be a buy and hold. So um, I don't think Devington gets enough love from what I've seen lately, as it should be getting.
Yeah.
But it's always going to be a place where you can find solid deals, solid properties, flat, large ranch homes, and like I said, you could flip properties there all day if you get a good deal. Kind of moving east in the Lawrence area, outside 465. So it's kind of like one of the more like controversial areas of Indy, like because that's when you start getting near 42nd and Post, 38th and Post. It's like right on the line there of where I guess the zip code would technically end, but just known for being one of the roughest spots in Indianapolis as a whole.
Yeah.
So something to keep in mind, but also I know some of our biggest buyers that we personally work with, whenever we get a property there, they're just like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So, it's always up to your, personal preference of what you want to get into. But even though this, like that area out there has been kind of known for one of the roughest spots or most crime, there's still a lot of opportunity there for some investors that they see the potential to buy up properties and rent them out there.
Yeah, kind of a general rule of thumb. If you're, kind of going, if you're not quite sure of this area and stuff like that, if you want to be safe, stay above 42nd Street. If you want to be really safe, stay above 46th Street.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of what you're looking out there. But I want to go back to kind of something you said, Randy, because I think this is something that I think a lot of investors that I've worked with over the years and stuff. I can remember conversations 2 years ago and stuff that I've had where people want to invest in 46226, and they're really just like, oh, well, I consider that more of like, almost some cookie cutters or small flips and things like that they want to do. So they want to stay outside of the zip code. They want to stay outside of the outer belt of 465. So they're like, oh, I just want Lawrence. I didn't want to stay out there. And I'm like, have you looked inside there? Have you looked at, Devington
Right.
and what's going on there? And then once they do it, they're like, oh, they love it. And they've done a
Yeah.
ton of deals there now and stuff. So yeah, completely agree with you on that. So it's been cool to see kind of the transition I think I've seen from a lot of our investors that they've kind of had with what's going on over there.
Yeah.
So, all right. Randy, anything else over any zip codes or anything else that you want to hit on or touch up before we get out of here today?
No, I mean, I'm a fan of all these that we talked about. We'll have deals here, any part of the year. So I'm not surprised that these popped up as being on the list, but there's I mean, we could talk about 5 other zip codes that
what's your zip
list.
code? What would be in your head? What's your number 6 zip code that would be on this list?
Probably Eagledale zip code. I can't think of it right now.
46224.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that mine's going to be, so I'm going to stay on the west side with you. I'm going to do 46221.
Okay.
Basically like we talked a little bit about, 46222, but kind of coming south of there, on that, that part, I love that zip code too. Some cool things happening down there. It's really neat, just little neighborhoods, that are really cool. So, that's what I'm going to throw on here is like, I feel like would probably be in this, top 6 or 7 that might be on this list as well. So awesome stuff. Thanks for joining me, Randy. I really appreciate the insights. If you guys have any questions or need anything at all from us or the Simple team, don't hesitate to reach out. It's Brian at simplewholesaling.com or Randy at simplewholesaling.com. We're here to be a resource for you. That's what we started doing this podcast for, is to help out anybody that's investing here in Indianapolis. That's what we love to do. That's what we want to help you do as well. So don't hesitate to reach out. And with that, that's a wrap for this episode of the Indy Investor Pod, and we will see you guys next time. Take care.